Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be mutual attraction without any connection. And this is really super important concept to understand, because there's going to be women that you're going to meet and you're going to go out on dates with and you're going to be really sexually attracted to them, and they're going to feel the same thing, but just the conversation is going to be kind of dull, it's going to be kind of boring. You're not really going to find her interesting. You're not going to really like listening to her that much. And when I was first learning about this stuff years ago, because at that point in my life I had pretty much blown it with most of the ultimate really super hot women that I wanted, I just assumed that there was something wrong with me and that all gorgeous, beautiful, hot women were awesome to date and awesome to be with. But it wasn't until I started using the skills that I teach and I share with you that I realized that even though a chick is hot, doesn't mean that she's a lot of fun to hang out with. It doesn't mean that you're going to have things in common, that after you have great sex, that you're actually going to like sitting there listening to her talk about her life or the things that she's interested in. And this is important because a lot of guys get attached to the physical beauty that a woman has just because we as men, we're visual creatures, and that is usually the first thing that we notice about a woman that attracts us to a woman. And so we like her physically, and as we start talking to her and we get to know her a little bit more, we get to know a little bit about her life, her interests, the things that she's into. That's when, because what's going to make a healthy, great relationship is where you're not only physically into each other, but you actually like hanging out. You actually have fun together. You complete each other's senses. You're into the same kinds of things, whether you both work out a lot, you're both into running, or you're both into the arts, or you're both into sports, or whatever it happens to be. You want to be with somebody not only that you're sexually attracted to, but somebody that you really have a great time with, just like you have with your best guy buddies, your best friends. I mean, when you hang out with them, you hang out with them because you just have a blast with them. And a lot of guys make the mistake, especially like when they're first learning this stuff, is their criteria is, oh, she's got to be hot. But then you start having some success with those women, sleeping with those kind of women and dating them, and after you spend enough time with them, you realize, I'm kind of fucking bored here. It's not really that exciting. And so I got a quick question here from a reader, and he says, this is a question only a dating coach can answer. I'm like hell-bent on getting an answer to this. My personality is one that I don't get excited in conversation with small talk, idle chatter. I'll do it to a point, but once it wears off, I get bored. Most people aren't this way, though. I'll talk and get to know them and whatnot, but the connections are far harder to reach. Does Myers-Briggs affect my ability to date? Well, I don't know what Myers-Briggs is, and it sounds like some clever label that somebody in the psychology or the counseling or the psychological field has given basically people who haven't developed their social skills or haven't developed their communication skills with other human beings. And what you're seeing here is that you're obviously not intimidated by a woman's good looks, and what you got to realize is that this is why I talk about it's really important to get really clear about what it is that you want in a woman. I did an article a while back, and you should definitely Google this and follow this exercise called How to Attract the Perfect Woman. Whereas you sit down and you actually go through the criteria that you want in a girl, the perfect girl for you, if you could have it any way you wanted to. And plus you go through the criteria that you absolutely don't want, qualities that you want to avoid altogether. Like for me, I'm very healthy. I want a woman that's a non-smoker. I want a chick that's healthy and she takes care of her body and who's into the same kinds of things that I'm into. I mean, I'm very passionate about making a difference in people's lives, and I want a woman that's empathetic and who cares about other people and who cares about helping them as much as I do, and who's interested in the psychology of success, who's just interested in growing herself as a woman, as a person, because I'm really into that stuff. Because it's really important if you're going to have a relationship with a woman that you also have your values that are aligned. But if you don't take time to sit down and contemplate and figure out what your most important core values are, then you're really kind of just taking whatever shows up in your life as opposed to having a directed, focused approach. So because you don't want to get into a relationship with a girl just because she's physically hot, but she's really lame to hang out with. And at the end of the day, you're not going to have chemistry with every single hot girl that you go out with. And so there's a lot involved. Sometimes you're going to be really into a girl and you're going to think you got a lot in common with her, you're really attracted to her, but she's just not going to feel the same way. Or you're going to find her interesting and fascinating, but she's going to think you're boring as hell. And that's just the way it is. You got to learn not to get attached to women. And that's why I talk about you got to date a lot. You got to interact with dozens and dozens of women. You got to ask out dozens and dozens of women. You've got to make dates with dozens and dozens of women, and you got to go out on dates with dozens and dozens of women. Because it's when you go out with enough really beautiful women that you really like, you start to see the differences between women who really dig you and women who are kind of lukewarm, mediocre, and you realize that the women who are really into you, they really work to make the dates fun when you're on the dates with them. So if the conversation gets dull and boring and stale, they'll work to keep the conversation going. And so my advice to you is to go to my website, like I said, go to Google and Google how to attract the perfect woman and read that article and do the exercises, because that'll help you get really clear and really focused. And you'll be amazed at what a difference it will make in your dating life and the kind of women, just simply the women that you notice and the kind of women that you approach, because you get what you focus on in life. Where intention goes, energy flows. So if you have a question that you want to ask me, or there's a topic you want me to cover in a future video newsletter, go to my website, click the Contact Me tab, which is going to be on the left-hand side of your screen. Send me 1 to 2 paragraphs max detailing your questions, your situation, your challenges. And you just got to give me several days to get back to you with a response, because I get a lot of email from the internet. And I also get a lot of it from my paying phone coaching customers. But be patient, and I will get back to you. And if you want to talk to me right away, the quickest way to get my help is to book a paid phone coaching session. And you can do that by going to my website, and at the top of your screen, click the Products tab, and just follow the instructions for booking a paid phone coaching session with yours truly. If you want to get a digital version of my Kindle ebook, you don't have to have a Kindle device. Underneath the email sign-up box on my website is another box that will have a link that will take you to the Amazon Kindle download page for my book. Once you get there, on the right-hand side, there'll be a button where you can download a free Kindle e-reader app for your Android smartphone or your iPhone or your Android tablet device, your iPad, your Mac, your PC, whatever electronic device you want to read my book on. Amazon more than likely already has a free e-reader app. It takes a matter of seconds to download it and install it, and then only a few more seconds to download my book, and you'll be reading it in no time. And I will talk to you soon.